Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. And this is pretty crazy to say. The Niners 2024 season is officially over. So coming up on today's show, some major offseason buzz. Now that the Niners season is in the rear view, a lot of offseason storylines beginning to pick up around this organization. Before we take a look at all of the latest news and buzz, subscribe to the channel. Our perfect offseason plan from last night picked up 45 new subscribers. 15 things that I would do to get the Niners back in playoff contention. Check that video out if you haven't already done so. On today's show, though, can we pick up more than the 45 new subscribers and real ones that we picked up on yesterday's show? As you can see, yesterday we surpassed 154,000 subscribers. This is your home for the best Niners coverage every single day year-round. And during this pivotal offseason, I have you covered with every single move. Could some coaching changes be coming for San Francisco? Let's start there. Kyle Shanahan is speaking to his coaching staff today, as is a lot of other coaches and teams around the NFL. That's how they're handling business for those teams that are not going to be playing in the playoffs. What's interesting here, according to some chatter, Shanahan won't talk with the media until later this week. So is he talking to his coaching staff today, talking with the media later this week, because we could see some coaching changes on the horizon, potentially. And with two coordinators here, defensive coordinator Nick Sorensen and special teams coordinator Brian Schneider, they are on the hot seat. What I would do if I were Kyle Shanahan, if I were Jed York, if I were John Lynch, I would go to Shanahan by saying this: you have to fire Nick Sorensen, hire Robert Saleh as defensive coordinator, and fire Brian Schneider. This special teams unit has been inept not just in 2024, but over the last few years. And so if I'm San Francisco, one of the big offseason acquisitions that I would make is hiring Robert Saleh. If the Niners were to hire Robert Saleh as their defensive coordinator to take over for Nick Sorensen, it would give San Francisco one of the top defensive coordinators and defensive minds on the market. This is a Niners team that looked spiritless and listless all year on the sideline. That's not how Robert Saleh operates. He would bring leadership and energy to the sideline. Insert some belief into this defense that was down and out throughout the entire 2024 campaign. We've also seen a track record of Saleh being able to maximize defensive players. He could streamline player development and help out some of these young players tap into their fullest potential. And if Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch look at the personnel on the defensive side of the ball and they say to themselves, that personnel works with our current scheme, and we really like Chris Kocurek as our defensive line coach, and we like our positional coaches, and we think that this scheme can be successful, and it was when Robert Saleh was the head coach with the Jets and the defensive coordinator with the Niners, and it worked under DeMeco Ryans. It gives San Francisco scheme continuity. I don't want to see Kyle Shanahan bring back Nick Sorensen for the sake of coaching continuity. Go hire the best coach on the market, and Robert Saleh is one of, if not the best defensive minds on the market, and he can help turn around this Niners defense, which was bad in 2024, and have them balling again in 2025. And this Niners defense this year, Nick Sorensen really never did anything with his scheme, with his play calls, to confuse opposing offenses. He didn't back them into a corner. Everything was way too easy for the opposition. And that's why we saw these long drives and these splash plays and a lot of confusion for San Francisco. And that's why they were bad on third downs and awful in the red zone. And it's just unacceptable from a coaching standpoint to see the aforementioned scheme and communication breakdowns. This was also an awful tackling unit. I do believe that comes down to coaching, because tackling has to do with fundamentals, and the Niners lacked fundamentals. They lacked discipline. They were an off-penalized team all year in all three phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. It's unacceptable. And the biggest thing that bad coaching does, it stunts player growth and player development. Now, John Lynch and the personnel department deserve blame as well. Part of the reason this entire Niners team struggled, especially on defense and late in games, is because the roster was simply not good enough or deep enough this year. They didn't make the necessary moves to add quality depth to this football team. As for how the Niners fared on both sides of the rock here this year, 13th in points per game. Kyle Shanahan has to be better. They averaged nearly 30 points per game last year. They were 4th in yards per game. You can take something from that. They were 2nd in yards per play. That's a positive. 9th on third downs. And by season's end, that red zone offense, which was pretty bad for a majority of the year, finished about middle of the pack, 57.1%, 14th. But defensively, I don't care about yards given up. I don't care about yards per play given up. I care about points. The Niners were 29th there. I care about third downs. San Francisco finished 24th. And I care about how you fare in the red zone. And teams scored a touchdown when they entered inside the 20, 68.4% of the time. Second to last in the National Football League. And the Niners EPA rankings by season's end here, 11th offensively, should be better, but not bad. You're on the cusp of being in the top 10. Defensively, though, 26th. Special teams, dead last. So if I'm San Francisco and if I'm Kyle Shanahan, he's meeting with his coaches today. I'm already starting to think about some of the changes that could happen. If I was Kyle Shanahan, I'd make at least 2 coaching changes this offseason. Coaching change number 1, fire defensive coordinator Nick Sorensen. The Niners were 29th in points per game, 24th on third downs, 31st in the red zone, 26th in EPA. And Nick Sorensen with this play calling did nothing that was creative or exotic. He made the opposing offense's job way too easy. Coaching change number 2, you have to fire Brian Schneider as the team's special teams coordinator. It's not just how this special teams unit fared in 2024. They have been bad now for several years. And this season, they were dead last in EPA, expected points added. And that unit, that phase of the game, has consistently killed San Francisco in the biggest of moments the last several years. So would you fire Nick Sorensen and Brian Schneider? That was a rant to kind of summarize my thoughts there. I want to hear from you now. F for fire, K for keep. Join the conversation down in the comment section right now. Our sponsor for today's show, our friends at Game Time. NFL playoffs are here. And if you want to go to an NFL playoff game, it's obviously not going to be a Niners game, but if you want to go to an NFL playoff game, the atmosphere is just so special. And Game Time also has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. And with Game Time, you get curated deals that make it easier to find the best price on great seats. The super deal is the best value for that event. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. On-time ticket delivery, lowest price guaranteed. Event cancellation protection and job loss protection is also a part of what Game Time has to offer. I suggest you toggle the all-in pricing tool. Therefore, it shows you your total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your purchase. That's your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Could the Niners be losing a valuable coach to their coaching staff? The New York Jets, according to reports, have requested to interview 49ers quarterbacks coach Brian Griese for their head coach opening. Griese's put together a pretty good resume as a college player, a pro player in the NFL, a broadcaster, and now as a quarterbacks coach who's really helped to develop quarterback Brock Purdy. Griese won a national championship as the starting quarterback with the Michigan Wolverines in the 90s, played in the NFL from 1998 to 2008. He played under Mike Shanahan, won a Super Bowl with the Broncos as a backup to John Elway under Mike Shanahan. He was a Pro Bowler in 2000. He led the NFL in passer rating in 2000. He was the completion percentage leader in 2004. Then he gets into broadcasting 2009 to 2022, including a stint on Monday Night Football. And he's been the Niners quarterbacks coach since 2022, where he has done a great job in developing Brock Purdy. And that work with Purdy is a big reason why other teams are taking notice of what Griese is capable of, what he's done. And it could also be to put out feelers to see if Griese wants to become an offensive coordinator and a play caller. He's obviously not doing that with Kyle Shanahan currently. I had reported back a couple of months ago that the Michigan Wolverines were very interested in Griese to be their next offensive coordinator. No idea if Griese had interest in that gig. Michigan went another route, but what he's doing is starting to turn some heads. To the biggest offseason storyline here for the Niners, what happens with Brock Purdy? Does Purdy get paid? If so, how much? Do the Niners have him play on the expiring year of his contract? Brock Purdy, in his end-of-the-season press conference, said something pretty interesting to the media, honestly. He said, quote, about the contract extension, "I want to get it done quick just so that we can get back for phase one, get after it with our receivers and our team. I'm not the kind of guy that wants to have any kind of drama associated with anything." It's great to hear. Doesn't mean he's going to take a hometown discount. But how do the Niners go about this? We will certainly see. Charles Robinson covers the NFL for Yahoo. I thought he had some interesting things to say here. I'll run through what he said in his story on yahoo.com, and then I have some takeaways from that. Luckily, Purdy avoided a serious injury with that elbow contusion. Anything requiring a surgery or offseason downtime would have been a disaster in contract negotiations. That said, I think the Niners waiting on a Purdy extension remains on the table. I don't think that's what the franchise ultimately wants, though. I still believe an extension is the priority for the Niners, even with the inconsistent performance and as many turnovers in 15 games this year, 15, as his first 24 regular season games in 2022 and in 2023 combined. Ultimately, the question is going to come down to money. Taken in a small window, Purdy's resume arguably better than that of Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love. And both of those quarterbacks became the NFL's highest paid player briefly when they signed their new deals last offseason. Purdy has also had better postseason success than Dak Prescott, who is the current highest paid player in the league. If the goal is to make Purdy the highest paid player in the league with more than $140 million in guaranteed money in his next deal, percentages shift toward the Niners going into the final year of his rookie deal with an intention of franchise tagging him after 2025 and working out an extension under the tag. If this deal, or if his deal is more in line with Love's, 4 years, $220 with the $100 million guaranteed, I think it can get done by training camp. So obviously a couple of takeaways there. I'm happy for Brock Purdy that elbow injury isn't bad. If it was, that would have been a disaster for him and tanked his value. I'm interested and fascinated to see how much Purdy demands. And I've said this. I think Purdy is better than Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa and Kyler Murray and sometimes Jordan Love. And that's what the market is. And I know a lot of people have that take. The market is the market, and Purdy is going to demand market price. He very well could. I don't think he's going to take a hometown discount. That's what I've been told. The best thing for the Niners is if it is a little bit of a hometown discount. Still $40 to $50 million. But if you go north of 60, I think that's just a little bit too much. So interesting stuff there on all fronts for San Francisco, and the offseason is only getting underway. I'll be covering it here. I'll be talking about it on my social media pages at Chase_Senior on X and Instagram. Let's get the 15K on X. Let's go.